Hello, hello. Welcome, LiFability family. This is a space for you to create a more fulfilled life for yourself by engaging in some consistent strategies that I myself will share, and there will also be some valuable lessons from guest speakers. Please note that any information provided is for educational purposes only, and please consult with your healthcare team prior to making any major changes to your routines, lifestyle, and health. Enjoy. Welcome, Michelle Lillicrap, to the LiFability podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today and supporting my mission of reaching the wider audience to explore and embody various strategies that they can have in their day-to-day lives so that they can create a more meaningful life for themselves. So I'd love for us to start off with you sharing a little bit about, your OT journey and then Feng Shui and, whether you do interconnect both together at present, what makes you still so passionate to continue on?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful to be on. So thank you. Um, so I spent, the majority of my career in, just general healthcare locations like transitional care, inpatient rehab, and to be honest, I just got really towards the end. I loved it. Like, I love OT work, and it's just, of course, it's a lifelong passion of mine. But towards the end, just got really burnt out towards the last, once I hit 15 years, it was really a grind. And I ended up, when I say that, it's towards the end, I didn't really feel like I was working in such a fast paced environment, and I felt like my creativity was kind of squashed, and I didn't really have the ability to really do my best work as an OT in those settings. But I didn't really, I wasn't able to really articulate that until I personally became, there was this sudden role reversal from therapist to patient. In 2018, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And that was while I was on maternity leave. It was just shortly after I had my second baby. And that just kind of obviously turned my whole life upside down. And that's when I just really started, I guess I was forced to stop and pause, and I ended up quitting my job just to go through treatment. So I was lucky enough to do that. I know a lot of people aren't afforded that kind of, a lot of people can't do that, but I was able to just not go back to work for a while. And that's when my real, big, my own healing journey began, and I started to look at things differently. I will never forget my oncologist. It was right before I started chemo, and I just asked him flat out, please just tell me something that I can do to make the chemo work better. And, just what will give me my best shot at surviving this. And I was desperate. And he just flat out said, don't change a thing. Don't change anything. You're going to be going through so much. So just do what we tell you, and that's what we're going to do. And it just felt so incredibly disempowering. And I felt like I just was kind of being drug along throughout the system. And it was a really difficult time. And I, of course, wanted to survive, and I was doing everything that they wanted me to do, but I was really struggling. And I ended up finding, it's kind of when I started getting into Chinese medicine or acupuncture, and then Reiki. And and it was kind of in the depths of chemo, and I could not get over how helpful they were. Even my husband, I would get done with a session and he couldn't believe that, it had that effect. on me. They were giving me all these anti-nausea meds, and none of it was working. Um, but oh my gosh, a good Reiki session eliminated my nausea like that. It was amazing. But so that's when I got really, really curious about energy work and energy medicine. And I really dove deep into like the acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And that's when I slowly started to just kind of follow the breadcrumbs, and it led me to Feng Shui, which can be considered, it's a part of traditional Chinese medicine, but it's could be considered like acupuncture, but for the home. And once I started to learn about it and I started implementing a lot of the techniques and I got my certification, I was absolutely hooked. And yeah, so I ended up, I was in home health at the time doing part time OT work. Um, and again, was just like frustrated. I was working for a company. I was frustrated with just like evolving door syndrome. People coming in and out of the hospital were not really helping them um, in like a long lasting way. And yeah, and just being in hundreds and hundreds of homes, I was really feeling like, oh, I just was seeing so many common denominators. Live in a very consumerist culture, and there's just an epidemic of clutter in, especially elderly households. In all of our households, though, like no shame, like it's just kind of the way it is. But yeah, just really poor air quality in these homes. And it was through COVID. So it was all just very, I knew that there was so much you could actually do in the home to promote healing. And so, yeah, I started my own business, and my intention was to offer both the occupational therapy and the feng shui and kind of blend them, because I just felt like it would be such a beautiful practice to not only use the OT to, assess the physical aspects of the home and make sure that people are safe and eliminating hazards and things like that, but also the energetics of the home, which is, not many people talk about, but it affects you, just as much as the physical. And I think we can all agree, when we go into any place, homes or anywhere, sometimes you just have that feeling of like, oh, like I can relax here, or you get into fight or flight. So the goal of feng shui is to turn off, you know, fight or flight, get into rest and digest in the healing mode, and all of that can be done through bringing in the elements of nature. And yeah, I mean, I could go deeper into the feng shui piece, but that's kind of the general idea and my passion of what I do.
Amazing. Firstly, I'd like to say I'm sorry that you had to go through
Oh,
the journey of your breast cancer and going through, I guess, the medical system and the world around not really looking into what else is possible. And thank you for sharing that journey with us.
you're so
And
welcome.
I'm curious to know. So, you mentioned that you dabbled into acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine as part of your healing journey. Was Feng Shui also something that you personally found beneficial for you?
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I had no idea. I think we all have heard of feng shui, right? But and there's different schools of feng shui, and I was led to classical feng shui, which is it's a very ancient practice. It's like 4,000 years old, and um, it it's just the most beautiful framework to work on the energy of a space. So, what we do is um, we get it's like the astrological chart of a space. So we're working with the space based on the time, the year that it was built, and the direction that the house faces, which is the direction that the energy comes in, or life force energy comes into the space. And so we calculate the actual astrological chart of the space, and there's 9 energy centers in every home, and it's all just about tapping into those energy centers, and they all correspond to not only different parts of our life, so health, wealth, relationships, career, things like that, but also um, each energy center corresponds to a different part of the body. So when I started to really get into the training, it was just absolutely mind blowing how, you could have different like physical ailments, but like working with that energy center of a space, you can kind of help release any blockages. Um, and so, yeah, I did my own home. And once I started seeing the effects of that, it was just like, I became a bit addicted. It was just, wanted to
Wow,
shout
that's
it from the
amazing.
rooftops. Yeah. So, I mean, anywhere from improving sleep, better digestion, like just overall health, better harmony in relationships. The idea is and I think the collective is coming closer to it's more common knowledge that we're all energetic beings, and we're all in constant communication with everything that surrounds us. And so the idea is energy, that very idea of energy, it wants to move. And yeah, so anything I consider clutter, anything that is impeding energy on any level. So that could be in the home, but it could also be in our body, and tumors, cysts, things like that, or stagnation in like the liver or wherever. That all of that is blocked. It's clutter in the body. It's block energy blockages. So it all, it's all like the micro is part of the macro, and um, yeah, don't know if that answered your
Yeah,
question.
wow. Wow. And so, it sounds like there is so much to it. And it reminds me a little bit about like the chakra system and, having the chakra system in our bodies and
It's
they
just like that.
represent,
Yep.
yeah. And
Hmm.
so you mentioned that there are 9 energy centers in the space, so in the physical space.
Hmm.
Um, is that something that you work out? Is it specific to, like the kitchen represents um, a, a
Yeah.
specific number or a specific, I don't know
Yeah.
what you call it in fact. Yeah.
Yep. So,
How do you,
yeah, how do you lay? So it's called a Bagua map. So that's the energy center map of the space. It is helpful to have a professional do it. If you don't need to, though, I do have on my website a guide of how to lay the map. Um, but what you want to do is just have just like a simple drawn to scale floor plan. And if you could just like draw that up, and you want to divide your floor plan equally into 9 squares, and each energy center is based on the direction. So we've got the center, north, northeast, east, southeast, south. So it's all the directions. Um, yeah, so that's how you
yeah,
lay it, and then definitely a consultation. That is how you would find out like the actual astrological chart if you wanted to go deep into the energy pattern of your specific space. But there's so much that you can do just knowing the directions. Yeah, and what they represent, and what area of your life, what area of the body, all of that. Yeah.
So is it quite similar to, what the chakra system or what the, I guess the five element system in the Chinese medicine
Yeah.
works like with, for example, liver representing, stagnation and frustration. And
Yeah.
so
And
the
anger. Yeah. Yeah. And
and so the direct
sorry. Yeah.
sorry, I was going to say the directions, like for example, north represents a specific um, emotional or energetic space.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, like the north, that is water. That's the element of water, and it relates to your life's journey and your career. And yeah, the kidneys, the blood. Yeah, so there's different systems that correlate to that energy center. Yeah, and it is all the
Amazing.
same. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that, you kind of blend your OT with the Feng Shui, and the OT is more about the physical space, and making sure that we are creating I guess, a safe,
Hmm.
fall free environment. But is there other parts of OT? I'm just thinking of the Cower model, for example, where you look at a
Right.
person and these different challenges that they might be facing, but then you also look at the floor of the river and how does that, I guess, um,
Yes.
correlate with with the spaces in the house.
It's funny. So like I mentioned earlier, I my intention was to combine both, but as a small business owner, I was I really was resistant, and I still am resistant to accepting insurance. Just, there's such a lot of red tape with insurance on, what you can and cannot do, and how long you can see someone. But also the biggest red tape that I have here in the States, I don't know if this is the same down there, but you can out of Medicare, which is basically everyone 65 and over. You can't opt out. So you cannot accept, cash payment from any of those people. You have to go through insurance. Um, and so it really eliminates a big population of who I would love to work with, you know? But with that being said, so I've kind of, it's funny because as you know, I've grown in this business. Everyone is reaching out mostly just for the feng shui consultations and not OT. But as you know, it's near impossible to take off your OT hat ever, like at once an OT, always an OT. So I consider my work really blending the two, and I'll look at what is it that people want, what do they desire, and how can we make that happen, in the least with the least amount of obstacles, like you said. And
Mm.
so yeah, I would say that I do both, and whether they know it or not, Um, but yeah, so I do mostly just straight feng shui now, but I've kept up my license, and I I'm not sure how that's going to look in the future. And I still consider myself an OT. I am an OT, but um, yeah,
100%. And I don't think, just because even if at some point you say the licensing or the qualifications aren't as important for you to keep steering, I think, like you said, once you're an OT, you're always going to be an OT. And
right.
yes, 100%, it is really important to keep up with, research, but that's just with
Yeah.
anything and everything, right?
Oh my gosh.
So
And I feel like I've learned. I'm just like hungry for knowledge, and all the things that I'm learning are just like I can't get enough. And just with holistic health and all of that, and yeah, so keeping up continuing ed has been no problem. And, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just want to dive a little bit into, people experiencing chronic health conditions, and
Mhm.
wanting to dabble into this world of Feng Shui. And I know you mentioned that getting a professional to help is utterly important, but are there any basic tips that you can give someone that's having challenges and wants to, start improving parts of their life?
Definitely.
And I
There's
know,
so
I
much.
know it's a very Sorry, I was going to say, I know it's a very broad question, and I understand that, really depends on what areas of life that they are wanting to improve.
Right.
But whether there's something that you can, I guess, provide us with as an overall way of being, or if there are certain strategies, if they want to improve their relational life, or if they want to improve um, I guess just physical health like sleep or digestion. Is there anything specific there for us?
Yes. Yes, there's so much you can do. So, what I recommend, I kind of created a feng shui roadmap. So, I always recommend, and this is just general, like basic feng shui recommendations, but the entryway of your home is the main mouth of chi. That is how good life force energy is coming into the space. So you want to make sure that it's clutter free, that it's beautiful. So, like a nice, like welcome mat with flowers. The goal is to make it bright and inviting and beautiful because that attracts the chi to come into the house. Um, you can ring your doorbell like every day. Sound is such a good mover of energy, and that will help also like bring in good energy. Make sure that the door opens all the way. Make sure that that it's in good working order. So the entrance is huge. And then the center of the home is the health center of the home. So if you were to stand directly in the middle of your space in your home, that is considered the health center. And you want to make sure that it, again, it's clutter free, that you open the windows, get good natural light. House plants are really, really good to clean the air, um, and to improve indoor air quality. Um, Anything that represents health to you, bring that into like the center of your space. So I always have like a bowl of fruit, or just something easy that the kids will run and they'll grab. Um, a fresh bouquet of flowers. So that's the center. And then the next main area is the bedroom, because we spend so much time in our bedroom, hopefully sleeping well. And so our bedroom it's the main things with that is make sure that you keep electronics out. Um, if you can, I always have like a no phone zone, like just I don't allow phones in the bedroom. Um, and the head of the position of the bed is very important in how you sleep. So you always want the head of the bed up against a solid wall. You want to be able to walk around both sides of the bed so there's good energy flow, and make sure that there's nothing stored under the bed. Um, and just really soft earth tones, just very, you want to create a space that signals to your brain the second you walk in that it's time to relax and shut down and have a nice restful sleep. So, yeah, so earth tones are really good, nice soft fabrics on the windows, and again, try to not have anything in your bedroom that reminds you of things that you should be doing. So, like unfolded laundry. A lot of people have workout equipment in their room, which it sends confusing messages to your your brain and your body of what you should be doing, or it makes you feel guilty that you're not doing it. And then just be mindful of what you consume in the bedroom. So reading is fine, but it's usually better to read anything stimulating, out in the living room or somewhere else other than the bedroom. You want to read things that are going to calm your body. So no reading the news or anything like that in the bedroom. Um, and then after the bedroom, your workspace. So the whole idea is you want to look at and evaluate all the areas that you spend the most time, because those have the greatest effect on your body. So wherever you work, again, make sure you don't have your back up against the door. You might not be necessarily um, consciously aware of how having your back up against a door, you know, your nervous system can't entirely relax that way. So it's good to be up against a solid wall behind you. So it's like mountain energy behind you. It makes you feel more confident. And just really, clear the clutter in your energy or your workspace. That includes like desktop, text messages, emails, clear that clutter. Have plants and, um, like a Himalayan salt lamp. Those are really good to um, help reduce EMFs while you're working with, the computer and the internet. Um, and then after that, I recommend everyone have an outdoor space that they go to every day, that they sit, just all you need is a comfortable chair, um, a blanket, and, a table for books and your tea or coffee, and just have an outdoor space that kind of beckons you to come outside, um, because that is the time. Just listening to the birds, watching, the squirrels or the insects, that immediately puts your body into, again, a healing state, rest and digest, and your heart rate slows. That helps with pain, um, blood pressure, you name it. Yeah.
And it's amazing because I have, just you saying that just brings me back into relating with that so much, because a lot of
Yeah.
the times I would spend my mornings outside and just, stare into the trees and listen to the bird life and watch the blue skies. And it's just, it really does, feel very grounding and just brings that essence in you. It's amazing. So,
Totally. And you
yeah.
don't need much. Like the effects will last, like 10 minutes, just if that's all you can do. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, mm. And so, would you say then, like the office or the workspace represents more of that wealth or self-esteem energy
Yeah.
centers, or where would you position that in the house?
Yes. So that's why it's so fun to know how the Bagua map lays on your floor plan, because it does provide such a beautiful, like, basically like an instruction manual of like where would be the best place for my workspace. I would recommend either the north, so the career life's journey area, if that works. If not, the southeast is the wealth and abundance. So that's such a good area for your workspace. Um, yeah, really, there's, like the northeast, that's more about like not self knowledge, and or increasing your knowledge and self cultivating your intuition, things like that. That would be a good place. Even the west is, that's your creativity area. So, every house is different, and not everyone's house is going to have a good place for a workspace, like in the career area. But yeah, it's good to know all the other areas, and you can benefit from tapping into that energy in that energy center.
Mhm. Amazing. Well, there is so much to cover about Feng Shui, and I know this is just a little bit of an introductory dabble into it,
Yeah.
into the Feng Shui world. So, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And I'd love to finish off with three questions that I ask all my guest speakers. The first one being, how would you like to see the future of holistic health and well-being?
Mm. Oh, I have such a vision. I think we're getting there, but I would love to see more of uh, embracing of conventional and alternative medicine, and not having it be so, you know, this or that. Because I think we need both for sure. I don't know if I would have made it through the conventional part of cancer treatment without the wisdom of our ancient, um, other medicines. And I think we're getting there, but it still feels, like our healthcare is so fragmented, and we're being, siphoned into different areas of practice, and none of them talk to each other. It's really frustrating, but I hope that we're going to get there. But also, I would love to just say out loud, my dream is to also just change the environment at hospitals. I think everyone would agree that you walk into a hospital and everybody just kind of shuts down and gets scared and feels sick, and it's not the most conducive to letting us relax and feel like we're in our power. And I would love to see clinics, hospitals kind of embrace more of bringing in the elements of nature, um, making it feel more like spa like, if that makes sense. Um,
Amazing. I love it.
I think that
Yeah.
people would, I think people would love it. And there's been a lot of research that, we know that the people that are in hospitals who are put in a room with the view of nature, of the city park, they do better. Their length of stay is much longer, or sorry, much shorter. So they discharge to home sooner. They get better quicker than the people who don't have a window or are facing a brick wall. So um, there's something to be said for that. And yeah, I hope that that's also a part of the future in conventional medicine.
Well, you're putting it out there now, so it's in the energy space. It will happen. Second question being, what's your favorite occupation to engage in? And for all our non-OT or
Yeah.
people that don't understand the word occupation, just activity, being anything that you do on a day-to-day basis or every now and again.
Oh my gosh. How to pick? I would have to say sunrise swims, which I do all summer long. It has changed my life. It changes my day. Like, it's just the best thing ever. We live near a river, so I at sunrise will swim alone, and I've also created such a beautiful group of women in this community that will meet up for that. So that's one of my favorites. Um, but I would say, oh, the trampoline. I do that for lymphatic
Amazing.
flushing. And so I do that with my girls. It brings joy, it's fun, and it helps with bone density and all the things. And the trampoline, yeah. Um,
Yeah. And it
yeah,
sounds like it connects to, the sense of, I guess, the social aspects with your girls, just that
yeah,
bonding, the physical aspects, and then just that creative space and childlike feeling.
totally, totally. And one last thing that I can't forget is grounding. I can't go a day without getting my body on the earth. That is my, yeah, love it.
Mm. And the final question being, what are three things that you can recommend to our listeners when someone's wanting to, I guess, start the journey of change but don't know where to start?
Yeah. Oh, I've been there. So I would recommend, I don't know if you've ever seen the Heal documentary. That's a good place to start. I think it's on Netflix, the Heal documentary. Um, Perfect Health by Deepak Chopra is that changed so much for me. Radical Remission is another good book, really, really good book that I would love everyone to read. It just breaks down and it's science based, the 9 things that radical remission people have changed in their life. And everything is very simple and straightforward. So that's a really good book. I tend to be, now that I'm, 6 years in remission, um, I tend to be like the go-to when people are diagnosed with cancer. So they come to me and they ask the same question that you just asked. So I created like a detox checklist, like a home detox checklist of, it's such a good, just simple, good place to start on, when you're in the thick of it. And yeah, it's just an easy check off list.
Amazing. I'll definitely link that onto the podcast. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Michelle. If our listeners want to find out a little bit more about you, where can they find out?
Yeah, so my website is it's dwellness.space. So DWELLNESS.space. And then you can follow along at Instagram, or on Instagram, at your dwellness. And I do like daily feng shui tips there. So that's just kind of an easy place to find me. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Thank you, Michelle.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.